Oh man, what's going on, everybody? It's Amon-Rellik, the God Slayer. Oh shit, oh damn. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another video. We're playing Destiny 2. We're going to do the finale to the season. I know I'm probably hellified late, but I've been preoccupied playing in Division 2 with the homeboys. Taking a break from the open world RPGs of Elden Ring and mentally preparing myself for what I believe is going to be Witcher 3 because that's going to be another huge undertaking. But I do want to knock this out, as we have been covering the story beats. I do try at least to give the story beats their just due. Yeah, whatever. Don't care. Alright, let's do this. Quest. Retribution is the complete the mission. Retribution. Alright, so where is this mission located? Can we find that quest line anywhere in here? We need to go to LIGHTFALL? No. Seasonal. No. Quests. And it does not show up quest tab. So am I meant to be going to a certain place? Maybe if I go to Europa, will it show Retribution? No, that's the weekly mission. That's something else. That's the Puka Pond. Okay, that's not it. BDZ maybe? That's the farm. How am I supposed to actually start this quest? That's backgrounds, that's Grasp of Avarice. How am I supposed to actually start this quest? Ah, okay. Alright. So we gotta go to the helm first. Okay. Let's go.
Mara and I have been talking, and we came to the same conclusion. It's time to act. The Witness sees our connection to each other as a weakness to exploit. It's counting on us not risking more lives in another attack. But if Amanda were here, I think she'd tell us it's time to play some offense. Mara's focusing all her energy directly through you, Guardian. We need you to blaze through the Ascendant Plane one last time. But it won't be without backup. We're all going. Mara says your power is strong enough to sweep us up in your astral wake. When you come out on the Shadow Legion flagship, we'll be right there with you. Lead the charge, Guardian. Let's finish what they started.
Okay. to let's do this, and then let's go over to destinations, and that should highlight where we go. Retribution. All right, let's do this. Because this is the first time going through this, I will record the entirety of the mission in full.
Guardian, with your light and the power which I have imbued, you have grasped the Ascendant Plane in total and may traverse it at will. We are poised for a victory. It is time to strike. The Shadow Legion flagship is a stain on your sky. Destroy it, and find joy in its destruction.
We will travel the Ascendant Plane by Marakel's grace, and aid you in your attack.
We'll follow your lead. Get inside that ship, and we'll all take it down together.
Never fear, Guardian. We'll be your support as you find a path to the ship's engine.
Go. Find your retribution. Deliver justice as Queen's Guard.
In all my years fighting back the Taken, I never thought I'd set foot in the Ascendant Plane.
Marakel's power is considerable, but it is not boundless. We must use this opportunity wisely.
That's right. We have our breach points. Make this count.
Find a way through that ship, Guardian. Crow, Mithrax, and I will bring down the Shadow Legion's commanders one by one.
I'm going to enjoy this.
Likewise. Mithrax?
I am ready to cut them down. We will break their ship and watch it fall from our sky.
Remember what they took from us. Don't let anything stand in your way.
Ooh, I've been playing Division. I'm so not used to. I'm so not used to Destiny's aiming right now. Oh Lord. Oh my God. Oh, that shit. Oh, that shit. I don't know if I was supposed to do that or not, but not sure. Ah. Hell. There we go. I'll take that.
Charge is on. Detonating ammunition storage now. There. We took out their firepower.
Cheers.
Barakel's Corsairs are with me. We are ready.
Good. Devram's providing cover. Let's move.
I have them in my sights. Don't worry, Guardian. We've got things handled on our end.
Still takes a whole clip. Let's kill a lot of these motherfuckers. Get out of here. Okay, yeah, the reticle turning system is a lot more sensitive than it is on Division. Gotta get used to that. Oh, okay. Explode, why don't you? Okay, explode, why don't you? What am I, like, why am I not hitting him? I mean, I know some of the Cabal are with us, but I know those aren't, I don't think.
Accept my power, Guardian, and tear down their defenses with your light.
I accept, my love.
Those cooling fans are the only thing stopping the engine from going critical. You'll have to destroy those generators first.
Okay. Boom, 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 Oh, okay, I see what guys be. Okay, I get it now. The hell? Let me out of here. Let me out of here. Okay. Oh, you just said no, huh? You just said no. 'Cause you ain't got the buff on. Ah, shit.
Took out the legionary with the biggest helmet. Had to be their leader. They're headless now, so to speak. You're clear to bring down those engineers. Then that engine is all yours.
What? Oh.
the engine and take down this ship.
Oracle will bring us back safely. Complete your mission, Guardian.
And have a little fun with it.
Oh, I hate this clip. This okay. I didn't know what else I'm supposed to be hitting this. Oh yeah, okay, that. Oh, that's dumb. Alright. Ah! Okay. So that was just shoot a bunch of glowing shit on the wall.
There are many battles to come, but we have this victory today.
Every civilian in the EDZ can see what we've done. They know we're keeping them safe from whatever the Witness wants with them. Well done, Guardian. You too, lads. We made quite the team up there.
We made the Shadow Legion hurt. We showed them that we can strike back.
In this, we honor Amanda's memory.
Oh boy. Okay, wait, what? Let's just go in there, shoot some glowy bits.
Did it, Guardian. And thanks for taking us along for the ride. Felt good to get a few shots in. You make one hell of a Queen's Guard. Wish it didn't have to end, but Mara won't be able to channel her energy out forever. She'd deny it, but she's getting tired. Even if the power of the Awoken fades, you'll always have their gratitude. And Mara's. And mine. There are still pockets of prisoners out there. Devrim and Mithrax will keep running rescue efforts as long as it takes. I'll be here too. We can't protect everyone, but helping who we can, there's nothing more important than that. See you around, Guardian.
Holiday. I know the Traveler won't bring you back, but if it did, you wouldn't remember any of us, or who you were. You wouldn't remember what you did. Tradition would dictate I not tell you. But I think I would. I would hold your hand and tell you that you were the best of us. Fearless, kind, and joyful. Skilled, stubborn, brave, and principled. Even to the end. And I would tell you how much you meant to the people who loved you. I know that if you became a guardian, you would be all those things again. But here, now, we can only live in the better world you've made for us. And hold ourselves to the example you set. Thank you for what you did. And who you were. Goodbye, Amanda.
All right. As you can kind of see by my dwindling amount of achievements for the seasons and stuff like that has can basically kind of tell you what I've come to not particularly care anymore about what's happening right now. Considering what the season was about, right? Considering what the season was about, I mean, it really couldn't have ended any other way than, than us trying to get a little bit of vengeance, I guess, for Amanda. Now that they pulled the whole kill Amanda Holiday off, they need to stick to it. Keep her dead. Because to be quite honest, the whole Traveler bringing people back shit, while I understand it's the basis for what Guardians are, at the end of the day, there's plenty of ways that you can end up using a mechanic like that in your story as a cop-out. You know what I mean? As a way to retcon a decision you made. So it's like, if you're going to kill Amanda off, the only way that death's going to ever be or remain important is if she stays dead. So in terms of critiquing because again, I know I made a video, or I believe it was a stream, that a lot of people from my size of a channel took a good look at when it came down to my critique of the story from a person who has been writing my own fantasy, I guess you could call it a fantasy novel, since I was 13, and I'm 38 right now. So critiquing it from a writer's point of view, just looking at the season alone, while it was undoubtedly lackluster, I understand why stories like these are relatively important for the whole of the narrative. Like, would I have chosen a more important person to die in this? Yes. Because this is a story of such a grand scale, right? This is intergalactic, you know what I'm saying? Shit, we got gods coming from all over the place, and they've all been attracted to Soul System in some form of fashion, right? People like Amanda should have been dead. If they were going to be actively in the field fighting, they should have been dead. Like, if you look at the size of a single Cabal Legionnaire up against the size of a human being, even some of the tech that they've shown in terms of like what the Cabal are capable of in their war tech, things like that, even some of the Fallen, like if you've seen an actual Fallen captain, like there's no way in hell that you could have Amanda out in the field for any extended amount of time and realistically expect her to live long. So, honestly speaking, I would have probably killed Amanda off earlier in this story's in the grand scheme of the entire story. But if we're going to just make a season about her death, this wasn't written too bad at all. It was all right. I believe her death should have been. I believe the scenes of her death, like the actual moment of her death, should have been far more. It should have been far more. Cause like, I get they probably can't do that because, of course, the game is like rated T, I think, for teens, some shit like that. So I understand that they can't just show blood, guts, and gore, but even if it was something as simple as us just seeing the aftermath, like her burnt corpse on the ground, something like that, like where we come in, like we go back into the wreckage you know, searching for her. Because again, in realistic sense, if Amanda was so important to us, like think of for instance when you see anything resembling something like that, where like somebody loses somebody super important. Like let's say a father lost their child. Like let's say their child's in a burning house. The father or the mother is not going to think about the fire and the danger that it poses to them. They're going to think, I need to get in there and get my daughter out. They're going to turn back around. They're going to turn around and go right back into that house. Fuck the danger involved. You see what I'm saying? If you wanted to display how important Amanda was to the Guardian or for any other characters, there shouldn't have been an immediate panic when we realized, oh shit, Amanda's not out here and that place just blew up. We need to fight our way back in there, go through the rubble. We need to find her because maybe she might be alive. Just maybe, with that desperate hope, you know, that a loved one would have for somebody they cared about. You know, and that could have been our second mission. That, like, again, because, like, I think one of these weeks we didn't even have a mission. You could have made that be the next thing that happened that next week, was, like, you know, us going back in there to find her, you know, or a continuation of that, since that mission, like this one, was relatively short. You could have lengthened it out by having us do a double mission entendre thing, where we had that happen, and then we go back in there and fight our way through Cabal, trying to, you know, lock down the area to get to her body. Because, I mean, we apparently must have gotten it back because we have a grave for her. We had a tombstone for her. And there was an actual, you know, whole bed with the Vanguard cloak over it. So it's like, did we go get her body back? You know, did we give a damn about her enough to go get her body back? I mean, or should I say what's left of it? I mean, death by immolation is probably one of the most horrible ways to die. You know, and you could probably say maybe the explosion killed her immediately, but the way that looked, if she died from anything, it might have been maybe the air deprivation, the sudden air deprivation of having an explosion like that happen. I don't know. Or maybe the force of it itself. But even then, it probably should have blew her out of the front glass and threw her way out of that place if that was the case. Because that's another thing too. The explosion didn't make sense as to how she went. Because an explosion capable of what it's supposed to be capable of, it should have just blew her out the front glass and she should have been flying out somewhere. You know? So like, you know, there's a lot of holes that, yeah, I can nitpick and find the holes, but the reason why I'm nitpicking is not because the holes themselves are bad, because they're all small holes, but when you have enough small holes in something, the leakage becomes unavoidable. And then you start to realize, kind of like what the general opinion of that death scene is, like, it's kind of lackluster. Like, nobody, like, it doesn't hit you as, oh my God, Amanda, you know what I mean? It doesn't hit you that way. Because there's so many holes in how she died. Like, why was she just standing there? You know, you're in a Cabal ship doing something that you really have no, you know, you being a human being you have no sense in being there. There's no sense in you being there as a human. Like, I understand she wants to do good, but this is not a fight that humans are truly capable of fighting. That's another thing too. It's like, as a pilot, I get it, but you're doing infantry work. You're doing the infantry shit. You're busting into a place. Like, pilot work, you should have stayed behind the cockpit, because the one time you didn't, you ended up dead. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, it was weird how they did that. Like, her whole strength as a fighter comes from her being a pilot. So it's like, why did they put her in a position to be on the ground like that? You know, it didn't even make sense for her death to be at the hands of an explosion at ground level. I could see her death being, like, for instance, her death should have been something a little bit different in terms of, like, it should have been more of like how when we thought she had hit the thing, you know, when the witness came and we thought she hit a piece of a ship. It should have been more of like she died in that space battle. You know what I mean? Because it fits where she fought the most, where she's most accustomed to fighting, where her skill set lies, instead of it just being in, at some random time helping some humans get out of there, out of a Cabal detention center, basically, So it's like I don't know. For what it was, it was okay. Like, it wasn't a horrible season, I mean, it was in no way, shape, or form a season that I gave a shit about. I mean, no lie, it wasn't like I was just itching to come back every week, and they really got to stop that model. Either you're gonna tell the story or don't tell the story. But when you stretch the story out so long, one mission worth of a story, when you do that and you make me wait another 6 days before you tell me another one mission's worth of story, I begin to not even give a fuck about the story you're telling anymore, because I'm tired of waiting on it. Because again, that 6 days wasn't worth the wait. And that's that's probably like the biggest thing I constantly keep saying every time I go through these seasons, at least these recent seasons of Destiny. It's like, the 6 days you make me wait ain't worth the wait for what you giving me. You know what I'm saying? Like, this, all I did was run around and shoot some glowing explosive things, and then shoot 3-4 fans, and I didn't even fight the boss. Devrim killed the boss. Like, that's how little we got in this mission. I didn't even kill the boss. Devrim killed the boss. And here's my point. If you're gonna make bosses like that capable of being shot in the face by a human dude who purposely said before that he doesn't come out and do this stuff because he's human, but now we're seeing that, oh yeah, a Cabal general, which is probably more than likely a Valis, at the least is probably a Valis that he shot him dead in the head. So it's like, oh, now we have to think about the what's what I'm looking for, the implications of that. So for all the Cabal's armor, bullets can pierce it like that. So it's like, okay, cool. Because the weapons we get as Guardians seem to be a little bit more special. They're a little abnormal looking, and a lot of them end up having abnormal elemental powers to them. But I mean, unless there's some lore about Devrim's rifle that I don't know about, as far as I can tell, it's just it's just a makeshift human gun, But again, for what it wasn't badly written. It's just, it suffers the same fate that everything else in Destiny suffers. The model is horrible for telling stories. The way they do this is horrible for telling a story. Because this kind of story beat shouldn't have taken a whole 8 weeks to tell. Amanda dying, us being pissed, and going and shooting some generators and some fans shouldn't have took 8 weeks to tell this story. You know what I mean? Because see, when I say it like that, now you understand, you begin to see the full breadth of it. The only thing that happened in this season was Amanda died, we got mad, we went up there, and we shot 6 or 7 thingamabobs and shot 4 fans, jumped back through a portal and came back here and said, yeah, we stuck it to them. We shot and killed, we destroyed one ship, their flagship apparently, but we know that this is nothing but one small force, that the Witness controls vast forces. So this one small victory, I get it. You want to be able to celebrate the small victories, especially after taking the loss like Amanda. But even in the sense of trying to stick it to the Shadow Legion, after losing Amanda, we didn't do shit. And it's like, again, all of that could have been told in a quest line that wasn't even as long as the expansion itself. In terms like the expansions campaign, this wasn't even as long as the expansions campaign, yet this was stretched out over 8 weeks. Let me make sure that I'm saying this right. Yeah, this is 8 weeks. The story that took 8 weeks to tell isn't even as long as the campaign, which was bare bones in and of itself, of LIGHTFALL. So it's like you're giving me fragments because you're trying to extend this game's life cycle. Well, here's my thing about it. If you want to make this a grindy game, of a grindy looter shooter, fine, do that. But if you're gonna, but if you want to make this game a narrative masterpiece, then do that. And if you're gonna try and focus on both, you need to do so by separating both. Separate the two. Give me all the story up front, and then say, here's 2-3 months worth of just grinding content to hold you over until the story comes back. Do that. Give me a whole 10-15 hours, maybe give me a whole 20-hour campaign where I do all of what we did on the Amuna. I do the Amanda stuff and she dies, and and whatever other things you got ready for the seasons. Give me all of that in one long ass 30-40 hour campaign, right, that I can do with my friends and shit. Then give me the 3-4, maybe like 2-3, maybe 4. I'll give you about 5 months, maybe 6 months. If you're gonna give me a good ass 30-40 hour campaign, I say you can give me a good 3 to 6 months worth of just mad grinding content, right? Just throwing in weeklies and dailies that have nothing to do necessarily with the story. Just it's just themed around what the story is where the story is at right now, and that way I can know, okay, I've already done all this. Like if I'm a story guy, I can do those story bits and be about my way. Or if I'm a grind guy, okay, I know grind is where I'm gonna be at. So the story is just gonna be there for whether I want to do it or not or whatever. And if I'm a both guy, I can do both and swallow all the content you can throw at me. But like, at least if you did it that way, we can get a complete story in which you can actually spend time fleshing out everything, so that the story isn't half told, half-assed, and broken down into little bitty pieces that feels this is not Game of Thrones. Cause I keep trying to tell people that this shit is not worthy of waiting a week for an episode. This is not Game of Thrones. They're not pulling red weddings. They're not pulling red weddings out their ass. They're not pulling out the reigns of Castamere. They're not doing these things. Like the story, it takes longer than it has any right to tell itself, and so it's like that's like its biggest downfall when it comes to the story. Like, just gauging it by itself, none of the writing here was super bad or anything like that. It just pulls what drags it down so much is that I don't want to fucking wait another week for you to tell me to go shoot a couple of glowing things and some fans, and yay, we took down a Cabal ship. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, like, come on, man. Like, and that's what you made me wait a whole week for. Mind you, I could be playing other games that could, and this is the part that I wonder about with Destiny, is the only people who stick around, like, I understand that there is a lore community in this game. Well, I understand there's a lore element that people like about this game, but I played this game since Destiny 1. I didn't play the beta of Destiny 1. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not I've been playing since beta. No, I played through Destiny 1 all the way, all of its expansions and all of that, and I played through Destiny 2 all the way through all of its expansions. I understand like I get it, right? Like I get it. Like I have them all, baby. I have them all, and I get it, right? I get it. It's the loot chase. It's the fear of missing out. It's the loot chase that keeps 90% of this fan base in this game. You know, and it's also the sunken cost fallacy. Sunken cost fallacy is a real thing. You know, and for those of you who don't know exactly what that is, the sunken cost fallacy is basically when you put so much time and effort into a single thing, when even though you may realize that that thing is no longer of any real value, you'll stick with doing it or keeping it just because of the time that you spent in it or with it. It's too difficult for you to just let go based on all that time you spent giving yourself to it, with it, and all that good stuff. So the sunken cost fallacy is literally a mental trap that many, many people, especially, you know, in business, not just in gaming, but in other things too, but mainly in, you see it, you would probably see it mainly in the gaming sphere, and it would be in something like, you know, grindy MMOs, looter shooters is another one that's you know, like this. That sunken cost fallacy. You put so much time in that the value, like the value of what you like the value of what you have isn't truly there anymore, but it's a personal value that you possess because of how much of your time you actually gave to it. So it's not something that's truly of any value other than that, than the you know, the stuff you had. Wow, okay, you know, other than the time you put on it. So it's a thing where they take advantage of that fully, you know, and again, like story beats like Amanda dying and that. If they were willing to just tell a complete story as a whole, they could then focus more on the intricacies of that. You know what I mean? Like, they could focus more on every character's individual ways of grieving over Amanda, and, you know, and stuff like that. Like, because it's all in one long story campaign. Like, the campaigns of Destiny, in all honesty, and some people might think I'm being too demanding when I say this, but I don't believe so at all, because this is a multi-million-dollar company, if not billion-dollar company, and this is exactly what we pay them to do. We pay them to create this stuff and to create these quote-unquote genre-defining and masterpieces, like they like to call them when they advertise them to us. We pay them our money, our hard-earned money, for them to do this. So I don't think it's asking too much at all. Campaigns should be at least, at the very least, 20 missions. At the very least, 20 missions. Each one having a dedicated cutscene, either at the beginning or at the end or both. The campaign needs to be its own standalone like game, damn near. It needs to be one of those things where a player can play the campaign by itself and get the full breadth of what the story is about. Because that's what the campaign is supposed to do. It's supposed to tell you the fucking story of the expansion. So the the person who's playing should be able to play the campaign in full and get the full context of what this story is about. And then all the other things that they engage in should be optional. So any of your major story beats need to be relegated to the campaign. I can see if you still wanted to put out seasonal content, fine. But it shouldn't have something as pivotal as Amanda's death be one of those things. Amanda's death should not be in a season. That should have been part of the campaign. Because again, because it's a part of the season, you couldn't treat it with any real respect. Amanda died, and we really couldn't even get any real, true grief in there. Or time to grieve if we were grieving. Because it's like, we all know seasons ain't nothing but dumpster fires. You know, like we all know they ain't nothing but a bunch of grind dumpster fires that we stand next to, waiting for the next real prime stake, which is the expansion of coming that next year. You know, like, it's very rare that we come across a season that stands out so much that it can literally be considered its true own, like, anomaly. We've only had like maybe 2 or 3 seasons out of all of the seasons that we come across that really stood out to be like, yo, even though this is standalone, this shit is like worthy of our time and money. And it's like, I just want, because I see the lore of this game, and it's like, yo, this lore could be something epic, especially for a first-person shooter. Like, you gotta remember, they're telling probably the greatest story an FPS has ever told, in terms of its scale and its fantasy and its scale in that fantasy. They're probably telling the greatest story an FPS has ever told. It's like, it just sucks the way they tell it. And it's like, yo, if you want to make this game open world, right? If you want to make this game open world, or should I say MMO, because it's I don't consider it open world. I consider it open instance. You know, because you can only travel to certain instances in which you have a map that's pretty big in comparison to you, but 90% of the map is useless. If you go to any of these planets, 90% of the maps are useless. But it's like, it's one of those things where you know the story is great. I don't have to sit here and be like, man, Destiny's story sucks. Because I know it don't suck. I know the story doesn't suck at all. I'm not critiquing the quality of the story. I'm critiquing the quality at which it is being told. You see what I'm saying? I'm because again, the whole thing with the veil and all of that stuff could have been cool as shit if it was told properly. You see what I'm saying? Like, and again, I mean, we all know that, you know, a lot of the people who created the Halo franchise from Bungie may not be the same people making Destiny. I get it. But a lot of people don't associate, don't see that. They see the name Bungie and they remember that Halo was one of the, you know, pinnacles of gaming. And Bungie was at the helm of that. So it's like, there's a lot to live up to when you see the name Bungie, you know, and not just, you know, in gameplay wise, but in story wise, because to this day, Halo is a very compelling story that people right now are you know, when they butchered it, you saw what happened. The fan base was not happy. You know, when they butchered the story, they didn't just say, oh, we just shoot aliens and that's all it's about. No, people were truly pissed at how they treated Master Chief and how they treated the story of the world of Halo and all that. So, you know, with Destiny, it's the same way. I don't give them a pass all because their shooting mechanics are nice and slick and, you know, and they have, you know, powers and shit like that mixed in with FPS. Because a grind's a grind no matter which game it's in. But that story is what makes Destiny special. I don't care what nobody says. It is the story that makes Destiny special. Because no FPS tells a story the way this one. No other FPS tells a story as grand as this one does. Like, the story of Destiny has become a grand adventure, but it's told in the most lackluster way possible. Like, good God, it's frustrating from a writer's point of view. Like, you have no idea how irritating it is to see this story being told the way it is. Because as a writer, I could already just imagine in my head how the story would feel and how the story would impact people if it was told in a far more consistent and steady manner. You know, like, and if certain story bits were actually looked over multiple times to to get a lot of the, because again, that's the job of the writer, is to make sure that everything makes sense within the world and rules that you establish. When you establish a world, you get to make the rules of that world. But the one thing you can't do, I mean, you can, but it works against you in the sense that that the people who read your story become uninvested in it. And that is, you can't break the rules that you yourself establish. When you create something, you can't break those rules. And when you create narratives around people, you need to make those rules apply. Amanda Holliday should have died in a cockpit fighting the way she knew how as a pilot. Because narratively, we knew that she was a pilot who had a thing for working on sparrows and stuff. But like, we knew that she was a mechanic and a pilot. You know, and she should have gone out in a space battle where maybe maybe the witness decided he was going to turn his gaze at Mara, and then while they were just staring out the goddamn glass. I don't get why the hell the most important and possibly the most powerful characters in the story by lore, I guess you could say, maybe, are just standing there looking through a glass while regular human beings and guardians are out there fighting in this space battle. What are you doing? Like, Mara Sov of all people, why are you just standing there? The witness is here. This world's quote-unquote devil has played his hand. He's here. And he's brought all of the darkness with him. I mean, all of the pyramid darkness with him. And he's shown that he ain't here to fuck around. Zavala, you're the head of the Vanguard. Ikora, legendary warlock trained by Osiris. What are you doing? Just standing here looking through a glass. But if you wanted to keep that there, cool. But you could have had it to where, like, maybe the witness or maybe one of the Cabal ships decided, I'm gonna shoot a rocket or a missile at that, try to blow it up, kill him, right? And have Amanda, see that and be like, oh shit, and she's too far away to get, to hit the missile, or should I say maybe like, in the middle of her fighting, her weapon systems get damaged, from like a hit that she takes from some random fighter or whatever, right? And she sees that thing shoot the missile and it's headed straight for them, right? Which again, you could just have Zavala put a bubble up, or I don't know. But let's say none of that happened, and instead, she's like, this is where I do it. This is where I lay down my life. So that my friends are safe. And she books it. She hits overdrive, and she uses the last bit of her ship's power, maybe, to fly dead into the trajectory of that missile. And she dies that way. And that will make the part where Crow is screaming, Amanda! Because he sees her about to do that. He sees what she's about to do, and he looks at the missile, sees her veering towards it, and he's like, Amanda! And then boom, it happens. You can have that happen and have Zavala, reach out and touch the glass, not expecting Amanda to have tried that or done that, Yo, dude, oh man, like, as a writer, dude, shit's so frustrating. Shit's so frustrating, dude, because that's where you kill. That's where you kill somebody. You kill them in those moments where they don't have time to think, and they just do something based on their instincts and who they are. Because at that point in time, you don't even give the readers enough time to think about the ins and outs of how that worked. But when you have Amanda stand there, calmly look around. Why are you calmly looking around in an enemy ship? You know what I'm saying? Why are you doing that? Why are you even on the ground in the first place? This is not where your specialty lies. You know, your pilot. When did she become all of a sudden like a hacker? She was a mechanic and a pilot. You know, when did she become computerized just all of a sudden? You know. So it's like, okay, you know, there's a lot that really could have been done better. But the main thing outside of that is just, it's hard to get invested in a story that's told so lackluster and half-assed. Because I know the lore. And one of the things that pisses me off more than anything is that they refuse. They refuse to open the book on Dredgen Yor. They refuse to do it. He is one of the most interesting characters I have seen in the Bungie universe. And they refuse. They give you his back lore. One of his weapon is one of the most iconic weapons of the Destiny franchise, Thorn. Yet they refuse to open the book on that. The whole story behind the weapons of sorrow. All of the different, like, a lot of people don't even understand just how deadly the Hive are. Like, the Hive are freaking dangerous, dude. Like, a lot of people don't even realize that. They don't even realize that the Hive can steal and eat light. Like, the Hive can literally, like, suck the souls out of people, that type shit. Like, the Hive are, like, their black magic knows no bounds. You know, like, they're supremely dangerous, you know. And, you know, some people are already saying that we already know that the Vex is going to probably be the main enemy in final shape, since, you know, it went down the line of, you know, the Fallen, you know, Hive, Fallen, Cabal, you know, type shit. You know, the Fallen got the darkness, you know, the Hive got the light, and then, of course, the Cabal got the darkness. And so a lot of people are thinking that possibly the Vex could end up getting the darkness or the light or some shit like that, you know, or somehow the Witness. You know, I mean, we're already seeing Vex in this story that's supposed to be leaning towards the Witness. We're already seeing a major Vex presence in that, especially with, you know, the whole, what's his name? Not Rogue, but Nezarec thing, you know. So it's like, you know, it's not like, I mean, I won't say that it's written in stone that the Vex are going to be the next major one, but it seems very likely that the Vex will be the next major enemy that we face, an enemy that we've been facing since Destiny 1. And so it's like, okay, I get it. Cool, whatever. You're trying to stick to some of the things that you have in the lore, and that's fine. But
war is a constant. The only thing you can do
just as a writer and I'm a legit, I wouldn't have played Destiny this damn long if I wasn't a legit fan. As a legit fan of the lore of Destiny, because I'm not really a big FPS fan for real, but I play a couple of them. You know, this and I wouldn't say, you know, Division's not a first-person shooter, but like, you know, this and well, I usually play this and what's the other one I play? There's another first-person shooter I play. It's not Call of Duty, not like that. It's this and there's another one I think I play. Or I might just be wrong. This might be the only real FPS I play. I thought I played another one. I got like 60-something games in there on, not 60, I got like 30-something games on Steam, so I have to look again. But, you know, I am a big fan of this game. I've been playing it, you know, since the first game, and I've followed the lore and the story closely since then. Since starting this game, because I was very interested in the way the lore was, because the first game, they set up the world pretty well in the beginning, you know, and it made me want to know more about this shit, especially when I came across the Hive. Like, what is that? What kind of creature is that? And the more I began to learn about the Hive, the more I was like, of all the different races that we have come across, the Hive, to me, are the most terrifying, you know. And so it's like, you know, I became far, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm partial towards Dredgeyor, because he is a ex-Guardian that, you know, has delved deep into that hive stuff to the point where he has a weapon of sorrow. But like, you know, it's just again, like I said, from a writer's point of view, I see the magic. That's the sad part, is I see it. And I don't just see it in terms of its quote-unquote normal potential or regular potential or just something as normal as the word potential. It's not just potential I see. I see the masterpiece hidden up under all of this muck and gunk. This corporate part of the muck and gunk where you're trying to monetize a story. You want to monetize the grind and the gameplay? Fine. But if you want to tell a story that means something to people, you got to think about story first, money later. And that means that the money part cannot fuck with how the story is told and how much detail is given in that story. It cannot fuck with that. Even if you got to lose some money, tell that story, man. Make that story great. Because that story is what makes people stick around for the grind. The real fans of Destiny care about the game's lore. They do. True fans of anything cares about the world of that game. Because without it, it's just a bunch of sprites on the screen. It's just a bunch of technical assets on the screen that you're shooting at. The Vex are the Vex because they were named that in the game. You see what I'm saying? The Fallen are called that because, not because that's what their name is, because we found out later on that they're not even called Fallen. Their real name are Elixni. But the Fallen was something that we as humans gave them as a derogatory term. It's a derogatory term that we learned through Mithrax that most Elixni don't like being called Fallen. It's derogatory to them. It's like calling a black person the N-word. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't like that shit. But again, that's lore. That lets me know, again, like there's deep lore here that can be explored and told, and it can be told well if they give the fucking story time to breathe. And you would think, well, you complained about the story taking too long to tell. Yeah, because when they do tell it, they tell it in such confined small spaces that the story ain't got time to breathe. We couldn't breathe with Amanda dying because they told it in like a 20-minute mission. But what if you gave us a campaign that's 30, 35, maybe 40 hours and had her death in there somewhere in that campaign? Because one, you can tell way more story than just what we got out of LIGHTFALL. And you can add in that Amanda part and the shit that's going on Earth on top of the shit that's with Neomuna. You could have them both going. You could have had it to where we were doing both, in that whole story campaign. And her death could have taken a lot more time to sink in. It could have given. We could have had a lot more time with the characters in mourning. Hell, like I said, you could have even made the death itself far more inspiring. You know? And so it's weird. Like, they crunched the story into small little bitty pieces to the point to where the story can't be impactful because you don't have time to breathe with it. But then at the same time, they tell the story over such large amounts of time that you don't give a fuck about seeing the next by the time it gets there, because what you had last time is like, you already know it's not going to be worth waiting those 6 days to try and see what little bit they're going to give me, because they're only going to give you a small snippet. You know, and it's like, again, with something like Amanda dying, if you wanted that to be impactful, Bungie, you failed. I mean, story-wise, it was a big death. She's one of the main characters. Well, she's one of the main supporting characters. She's a part of the supporting cast. But at the same time, her death didn't have the oomph that I know they were going for. You know, and because of that, the season itself doesn't have the oomph that a season about a character's death like Amanda's should have. Thanks guys for watching. Amon-Rellik the God Slayer, Amon-Rellik Gaming. I know I've talked your head off for this hour and 15, but you know me, when it comes to things like story, I can talk for a good minute. And again, like, comment, share, subscribe. Come out and hang out with me on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, which I stream on those 4 days, anywhere between the times of 5, maybe like 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon, till about 10 on the weekdays, the 2 weekdays, and sometimes until about like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning on the weekends. So just hit me up. Again, hit me up, Amon-Rellik Gaming. Check out the poll. I have the poll up still for what we're gonna play next at the Elden Ring. It's looking like it's gonna be Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Like I said before, I'm mentally preparing myself for another big open world game. So, you know, we're gonna get into that, and we're gonna keep it rolling until Tekken 8 comes out, to where we can then hyper focus on the main point of this channel, and that is my my fighting game enthusiast, my fighting game enthusiast heart. So thanks guys for watching. Amon-Rellik the God Slayer, Amon-Rellik Gaming. We are out of here.